The final frontier. And we're not talking about the outback, but space. And the race is well and truly on to conquer it, with huge investment in missions to learn and to survive outside Earth. The launch of Artemis 2 in 2026 captured the global imagination as it set off on the first deep space voyage in more than 30 years. What happens up there can sometimes feel a little bit unrelatable to life here on Earth. But stay with me, because right now there are hundreds of scientists across the world working on growing food in space, and there's a massive crossover into agriculture. Professor Harvey Miller has spent the last 25 years working on how to feed people in space. He was recently named Western Australia's Scientist of the Year for his work as the Plants for Space research lead at the International Space Centre in WA.
When we take people to space, we take people and all of their problems and all of the issues they face. And the first thing when you get to space is going to be like, what's for lunch, right?
If astronauts are to stay in space for longer missions, they need to be able to produce nutrient-dense food.
So this is a great opportunity for plant scientists to be interacting not only with engineers, but also rocket scientists, and thinking about where agriculture and plant science can be brought together to effectively provide a new opportunity for living and sustainability on a different place in the universe.
But those solutions can be applied on terra firma too. Many remote Indigenous or island communities have limited access to fresh fruit and vegetables and could benefit from space food solutions.
Whether that's a remote scenario where you need to be able to bring food somewhere, or you don't want to transport it long distances, or somewhere where you just want to grow something and you can't grow it outside. The seasons don't work, the environment doesn't work, the pests don't work.
But perhaps more important is future food security.
We know that the climate's changing, we know that where we can grow food's changing, we know that we will cap out the ability of how many people we can have on the planet.
More immediately though, a team of scientists here are tackling issues readily applicable to agriculture challenges, perhaps none more pressing than recent fertiliser shortages. Professor Harvey is hoping ideas and technology for space crops can also lead to efficiencies in dry land agricultural practices.
Now, I think this is a really interesting parallel, because in space, nitrogen is always really expensive. Right now, it's expensive in the real world as well. So thinking about how we get the maximum use of our inputs to get an output is critical for space, much more critical in many ways than agriculture. But as we think about how nitrogen might be impacting the environment and also the cost of the input, all efficiencies are actually essential.
And situated on the door of the wheat belt, that work couldn't be more relevant.
It's a great place to be sitting, looking at those difficulties and interests, and the major need for fertiliser in Western Australia to actually grow cereals, and thinking about what we can be doing as scientists, how we can be lending our expertise along with all of the other components in the industry to make tangible benefits into the future.
Overcoming the challenge of salinity in space could also be useful right here on the ground.
We also see it in salinity, because a lot of the water systems that we want to be using in space are actually saline in various ways, because it's coming from people, it's human waste, right? So there's a salinity factor that they want to take into account, and then this connects to many of the interests in terms of tackling salinity on Earth.
But the million-dollar question is, have they come up with anything tangible?
Well, I've actually been working in broadacre cropping in the nitrogen space for 4.5 years now. I did my PhD on this as well, and I look at how the timing of nitrogen application and the environment influences wheat protein composition, and how this influences bread making quality. So I ground some flour, and then we do a protein extraction, and then we send it downstairs to the mass spectrometry lab to look at the thousands of different kinds of proteins that make up wheat composition.
It appears so. Research associate Samantha Harvey came to science late. She didn't complete high school and was a single mum at 23. But she was drawn to the world of space science and crop research.
I decided that if I had to go back to work to support my son, I wanted to do something that really mattered, that really felt good, and something that I could show him as well as he grew and be inspirational in that way. I could go into medicine, or I could do biomedical science, or I could focus on this nitrogen problem where I could actually help billions of people. Everyone has to eat. So if I can improve our cropping systems, this is going to have the most impact.
A scholarship allows her to work directly with growers, offering a real-life lens to the lab work.
So I know growers who are putting $1 million worth of fertiliser on their field over a year, and the plant's only taking up around 30% of that. So we have an environmental impact, but we also have a monetary impact. So my research, I look at how the timing of nitrogen application shifts how the plant takes up that nitrogen and how it prioritises that into proteins. And then I also look at how things like urease inhibitors or rhizobia and rotational cropping systems influence that as well.
But it goes beyond altering how farmers apply chemical inputs.
So I look at how that protein gets into the grain, and I look at the thousands of different proteins in the grain and how that is influenced by our nitrogen management strategies and the environment.
And can even carry through to livestock improvements.
And here we're growing different varieties or genotypes of canola, and we're looking at how nitrogen influences them. But the byproduct is actually protein, and that protein gets fed to animals.
Growing better crops is one thing, but it's also about protecting them. There may be no wild weather or drought in space, but with limited gravity, it is hard to get the limited water available into the plants. And overwatering can also become an issue.
So this is a box that I engineered and designed with a mechanical engineer to kind of simulate a setup they have on the space station to grow lettuce. So this is sort of a replica of that, where we can also simulate flooding in plants on Earth. So the work that we're trying to do is to try and make plants more hypoxia tolerant, which is low oxygen. And this happens in space for various reasons, but then it's also very important in agriculture through high rainfall and flooding.
Turns out they don't just survive, but thrive.
So I'm making plants like lettuce make more of a protein that I think makes them more tolerant to this stress, which coincides actually, this protein is actually quite nutritious as well. So it's kind of like a two birds, one stone approach, where they might be more tolerant to, say, high rainfall conditions, and they are actually more nutritionally dense from that protein.
An important tool as the Earth's atmosphere changes.
If we're going through climate change, as we are, there's going to be more extreme weather patterns, probably more and more frequently.
Much deeper in the weeds, or tobacco plants, Dr. Ryan Coates has come from across the pond to work at the Space Centre on manipulating gene proteins within plants. So this just looks like some leaves to me, but what are we seeing here?
Yeah, so what I've done is I have made these leaves genetically modified. And you can see the little circles there. Those are syringe sites where I've put the DNA into the plant.
Yep.
And hopefully what we'll see is green protein, green fluorescent protein, where the more green we have, the more protein is being made.
Yep.
So when I turn the light off and flick this on, with all luck, we should see some green protein.
Okay, let's have a look.
So what we'd use then is the genetics that are causing this to become more green.
Yep.
So the genetics that are making this more green in this plant, we can then put into a crop plant without the huge time and economic investment.
It's kind of coding, but for plants.
I'm a genetic engineer more than I'm a botanist. And what I tend to do is try and make the genetic instructions that tell a plant how much protein to make, and just really drive that into overdrive, test it in some species, and then once we have things nice and tested, move it into actually agriculturally viable crops.
It's not the only shortcut on productivity. Artificial intelligence has also significantly changed his workload.
It's like learning a new language that humans don't speak. But AI can actually analyse that language and generate proteins which a human brain wouldn't be able to come up with. And I actually think that it can lead to real-world positive change as well, especially in nutrition, which affects so many people across the world, and in space.
It's all rather out of this world. These scientists are shooting for the stars using high-tech botany for cosmic survival. But the byproduct of their knowledge is helping farmers tackle some of Earth's most pressing agricultural problems.